This is the Troll Patrol, live with Justin Freakin.
Welcome to the Troll Patrol live. It's a freaking Tuesday. Curiouser took me to the laundromat earlier, and I was distracted. I need to get high. I need to get high right now, Julie. I was distracted. Some old lady came up to her, started talking about the weather. And apparently after they talked about the weather, she asked her about God. And I came over and I was able to, I didn't even know what was going on. I was like, all right, so you want to run and get a coffee? We get out to the car and she's like, that old lady was wanting to talk to me about God. I was like, boy, aren't you lucky I didn't say anything. She's like, yes. I was like, praise Jesus. You had heard. Good evening, welcome. This is Troll Patrol. Oh, did I already do that part? I always find it wild that there's these people, they want to argue on Twitter. They will respond to everybody else. But once I jump in, they stop responding to me. Weird. It's like they've, I don't know if they're trying to pick on somebody that they think they can pull one over on. They feel outmatched by me or what? I don't know. I need to pack a new bomb. I think I need to grind some up. Hope everyone's having a fantastic Tuesday. We got news. News be doing stupid shit. DJ Dub. Had a great time watching the... Oh, maybe I don't need to grind some up. Maybe I've already got some in my jar. Maybe I got enough for a bowl in my jar. Yay. That's my jar. I had a friend probably about 5 years ago or so. I had a friend. She does like custom trinkets and knickknacks and shit like that, right? Crafty stuff. And I bought this rolling tray off of her. And it's awesome. I love it. It's one of my favorite things I have. PP Girl, good evening. You ready to get high? Let me get this packed. I still might have to pack another, or I might have to grind up some because I thought there was enough in the jar, but there might not be enough in the jar. The door is a jar. How can a door be a jar? Drinking tonight. Is the news that bad? Anonymously, good evening, my friend. We're looking back at him in the mirror, and he is like this big. Just take him and put him in the jar. Oh! I was seeing this woman that was way out of my league years and years and years ago. And this is, he was like 10, 15 years older than me. I'm like 19 at the time, 20. I'm the news director of 9 radio stations. And there's this woman, she's at the Job Corps. And I ended up dating this girl from that Job Corps a couple years later. And she's like, Miss Moore, I think her name was Miss. I knew her as Lisa. Totally just outing somebody out here. But Miss Moore was what the students called her. So I hook up with this girl from the Job Corps. And she's like, you fucked Miss Moore? I wanted to fuck Miss Moore. I was like, yeah, I did. But I went over to her house. I dated her for a little while, for a few weeks. That was crazy. I was in like a fucking Walmart walking around holding hands with her. There are people like seeing me in that Walmart like, the fuck? That's happened to me many times in my life. I guess I punch above my weight, you could say. anybody out there, if there's any incels listening to this, listen. The way you pick up women, like there's not a goddamn secret to it. You just gotta be confident in yourself. That's all. There are people out there, no matter who you are, there are men, women, non-binary people that want to fuck you. They just don't know that they want to fuck you because they don't know you're available. You haven't, been confident in yourself. Meat cakes. Good evening. That's all you need. There's all these fucking dudes that'll tell you they know how to pick up women and shit. They're lying to you. They're grifters. All you gotta do is have some confidence. People that have confidence are just more likely to ask somebody out. I don't even know how I got on this topic. Your mom gave you a beer? But Maddie Lazy, good evening, my friend. What does that even mean? Blame the women, not myself. Who's blaming anybody? Here's your meme of the day. The right when you point out that government is corrupt. The right when you point out that the corruption comes from large corporations and the wealthy. Holiday, good evening. Welcome in, my friend. Holiday. Stop letting me sing. Why do you people do this? Nobody wants to hear it. What that news be doing? Oh, I see what you're doing there, Maddie. I agree with your point. Light one up, tip one back, fuckers. I got off stream last night. I made broccoli casserole at 2 a.m. I had this shit to make it. I've been meaning to make it. Because I made it for Christmas. I've been craving it. It was so good. So I made broccoli casserole at 2 o'clock in the morning last night. Now I didn't make anything else to go with the broccoli casserole. It's a very simple. I've got to get because I don't measure anything. I gotta get the right proportions down, but it's basically I use two things of broccoli. I ordered 2 beds of broccoli. I need to chop them up. God damn it, Michael. Good evening. I think I need to chop them up finer. I had too big of pieces of broccoli in there. I need to chop them up into smaller pieces, but it's just I might have used 2 eggs. I used 1 egg. I think I should have used 2 eggs. Mayonnaise, onion. I chopped up some onion and put in there. Some garlic. That's pretty much all it is. I used Vermont cheese. Shred up some Vermont white cheddar in the broccoli. Mixed it all together. Put it in a casserole dish. Then you top it with sharp cheddar and Ritz crackers, like buttered crackers. Don't have to be Ritz. I ordered Kroger brand crackers, but they were out. Ended up getting Ritz. Oh, you know how I was really wanting assorted chocolates the other night? Was really craving assorted chocolates. I got me a Whitman's sampler. We go in, and fucking once again, thank you to Curiouser. We go in Kroger. Because I need milk and sugar. And she's like, oh, Valentine's candy's on sale. And I'm like, by God, let's do it. If I hadn't had her with me, I wouldn't have realized it. So I got me a Whitman's fucking fuck. God damn it. Got me a Whitman sampler. She ate all the coconut ones out of it. So I was like, yo, you can try whatever you want. And she's like, I'll eat your coconut ones. Brownie batter, vanilla cream. I already had a vanilla cream. It was really good. Chocolate nut fudge. I really liked it. There was no orange in here. There was no orange or strawberry, but I like those. Already had a solid chocolate. It was really good. A peanut cluster. I had one of those already. It was really good. A sea salt caramel. Already had one of those, and it was really good. I've already ate several of them. I'm kind of a pig. So I was able to get me some assorted chocolates. You could only find chunks of mustard, or you could only find chunks of pretzels. And there's this gas station. It's like, it says it's got world famous chicken, and every time we pull up to that gas station, because it's got a free ATM, it's right across from the pot shop. I'm like, do you want some chicken? You want me to get you some chicken? You want me to get you some chicken? I didn't run down the news, did I? You want me to do it real fast? Or just get to it? We got new developments in the Karen Reed case. That's the woman that killed her cop boyfriend. A mom was arrested after abandoning her kids. Apparently the scene is horrific. We've got video of the plane landing from yesterday that landed upside down. Dennis Prager, apparently paralyzed. Trump blames Ukraine for Russia invading it. Netanyahu has announced a new hostage deal. The White House says Musk isn't a part of Doge. In a new court filing, a judge has denied a request to block the Doge activity. We have a memo circulating around. A Social Security official has resigned over Doge. There's a lot of Doge on the... I can't believe this is a thing. I can't believe it's a thing. Louis DeJoy is stepping down. The head of the FDA has resigned. The top criminal, the top DOJ Criminal Justice Division official has quit. And we've got new news on our good friend Tiffany Henyard, all that and a lot freaking more tonight on the Troll Patrol live. I wouldn't want a bag of pretzel chunks. I would want a big soft pretzel. Pretzel chunks don't sound good at all. I want a big soft pretzel. Nice and hot and soft and salty. That's a fucking pretzel. Ah, god damn it. Fucking fuck. Why do you people do this to me? Let me cuss. Donald Trump denounced Ukraine.
Thank you. Yes.
We're hearing that Russia wants to force Ukraine to hold new elections in order to sign any kind of a peace deal. Is that something that the U.S. would ever support?
Well, we have a situation where we haven't had elections in Ukraine, where we have martial law, or essentially martial law in Ukraine, where the leader in Ukraine, I mean, I hate to say it, but he's down at 4% approval rating. And we're a country...
Okay, I know the 4% isn't true. It's apparently 52%. The last poll was taken in like November. Is there martial law? I don't think that's true. Is Flash here? I don't think that's true.
It's been blown to smithereens. You got... Most of the cities are laying on their sides. The buildings are collapsed. It looks like a massive demolition site.
Clinically, good evening.
I mean, so many of the cities. I mean, they haven't done it in Kiev because I guess they don't want to shoot too many rockets in there. They've done it 20%, but they haven't done it 100%. If they wanted to do it 100%, it would probably happen very quickly. But you have cities that are absolutely desperate.
If they wanted to, they needed to do it at 66 2/3%.
But then you take my 75% chance of winning and then add 66 2/3%. I got 141 2/3 chance of winning.
Martial law means something very specific.
Estimated. And yeah, I would say that, you know, when they want a seat at the table, you could say the people have to, wouldn't the people of Ukraine have to say, like, you know, it's been a long time since we've had an election. That's not a Russia thing. That's something coming from me and coming from many other countries also. You know, Ukraine is being just just wiped out. Look at what's happening to the cities. There are cities, there's not even a building standing. It's a massive...
Chucky, good evening.
Gaza. I mean, it's literally, these cities look like Gaza. Actually, many have, percentage-wise, more buildings knocked down than in Gaza. So, you know, people are tired of it. People want to see something happen. And, you know, the other thing that it's been bothering me for a long time, because I solved the problem with NATO. They paid hundreds of billions of dollars into the funds of NATO when I said you got to pay, because the United States was paying for European countries, and then they take advantage of us on trade. But I've seen it. Look, they have to pay. They have to find out.
I want to break that vase.
We have, I believe President Zelensky said last week that he doesn't know where half of the money is that we gave him. Well, we gave them, I believe, $350 billion, but let's say it's something less than that, but it's a lot. And we have to equalize with Europe, because Europe has given us given a very much smaller percentage than that. I think Europe has given $100 billion, and we've given, let's say, 300 plus, and it's more important for them than it is for us. We have an ocean in between, and they don't. But where is all the money that's been given? Where is it?
Red Wine, good evening.
I've never seen an accounting of it. We give hundreds of billions of dollars. I don't see any accounting. So
I'm not high enough for this shit.
you know why I want? Because I don't want all these people killed anymore. I'm looking at people that are being killed, and they're rushing.
Just Trump inside the base.
People.
Where is he?
Where they're from on
The camera has not panned to him in a while.
And I think
fuck.
to end this war.
Lenny, good
Very
evening.
well. But today I heard.
Tier 2, good evening.
Well, you've been there for 3 years.
We're currently watching Trump blame Ukraine for getting invaded. He's made multiple insane statements during this.
should have ended it 3 years. You should have never started it. You could have made a deal. I could have made a deal for Ukraine that would have given them almost all of the land, everything, almost all of the land, and no people would have been killed, and no city would have been demolished, and not one dome would have been knocked down. But they chose not to do it that way. And President Biden, in all fairness, he doesn't have a clue. What he was so bad for this. It was so bad, so pathetic, so sad. But with all of that being said, look, it is what it is. When I left, there was no chance that this could have happened. But it happened because we had incompetent leadership at many different levels. But when you see what's taking place in Ukraine with millions of people killed, including the soldiers, millions of people killed, a big percentage of their cities knocked down to the ground. I don't know how anybody even lives there. You know, when they say they took a poll and Zelensky's at 4%
My Lord.
living there, you know, I mean, people are, it's hard to believe that people live there. Their cities are being knocked down, and this is something that would have never happened. And by the way, for 4 years, it didn't happen. It was never going to happen. Go ahead.
Follow-up question. How
I don't know what's happening right now. Democrats are accusing Trump of capitulating to Russia. Russia did launch a large-scale attack on Ukraine last night, earlier today, something like that. Habib what's up, my friend? This is Senator Dick Durbin from Illinois.
The Democratic whip.
Mr. President, in 1938, British Prime Minister Neville Chamberlain touted the now infamous Munich Agreement as a way to stave off Hitler's Nazi Germany. Prime Minister Chamberlain claimed it would, quote, secure peace in our time. A year later, Hitler invaded Poland and triggered World War II.
And I don't disagree with you, Lennon.
Devastating conflict that left Europe in ruins and millions dead and displaced. Over time, Chamberlain's name became synonymous with the term appeasement, for good reason. You see, while Chamberlain's goal of peace may have been honorable, he was dangerously naive about the human nature of a tyrant in Germany.
Are we talking about the basketball player?
Territorial ambition, pursuits that could only be thwarted with a show of strength.
He had a good hook shot.
Trump's art of the deal opening negotiation with Vladimir Putin has the same odor of appeasement. Last week, Donald Trump announced he's ready to make a deal with Russian President Putin over Ukraine, while apparently ignoring Ukraine's key demands for peace. In fact, Trump and his fledgling defense secretary publicly gave away huge concessions at the start, signaling they would not insist on a return to Ukraine's sovereign 2014 borders or future NATO membership.
Oh, Neville
It's also
Chamberlain.
not clear from the administration's bewildering Munich Security Conference
I was bewildered.
if President Trump plans to even include Ukraine or our European allies in the negotiations
I thought we were talking about Walt Chamberlain, so had no idea what's going on. I think I'm up to speed now.
for the future of Ukraine. It is no wonder that in the United Kingdom, where they remember Chamberlain's folly all too well, Donald Trump's early pronouncements were lambasted for their misreading of history by leaders across the political spectrum. Let me share some of the things that have been
I'm
said
just making a jokey
by
joke.
our ally, United Kingdom, about Trump's opening bid to end the war in Ukraine. One member of parliament lamented that the West now, quote, might be facing the worst
You're
betrayal
actually paying attention to what the senator's saying.
Poland in 1945. And another said, surely in Europe we understand that no matter what we give Vladimir Putin, he's always going to want more. And one final member of parliament, in a refrain I think best summarizes the situation, said, there is less the art of a deal and more a charter for appeasement.
Durbin is so boring.
President Trump has always had a strange affinity for autocrats and dictators, a troubling character weakness for the leader of the free world to have. He almost seems to want their adoration and admiration, especially compared
He's like
to the
second in
clear-eyed
line behind
leadership
Schumer.
of previous
Or third in
leaders,
line, isn't
even
he?
on the Republican side, like Ronald Reagan, who knew how to deal with the Soviets. But there are real consequences to Trump's autocratic liaisons for America and allied security, ones that Republicans in the Senate ought to take pretty seriously. His crazy rants about Greenland, Canada is a 51st state, Panama, and the so-called Gulf of Mexico,
Those are all the best things about him.
to some, including himself, but it certainly does not
That's the fun shit.
for
Oh, God damn it.
of the United States. Simply caving in to Putin and walking away from Ukraine, just as Chamberlain did to Hitler, is an invitation for more confrontations in the future.
Light one up, tip one back.
Mr. President, before I was elected to the House of Representatives, in the 1970s, I was a guest of an organization known as the American Council of Young Political Leaders.
Oh, no, I meant in Senate leadership. I think Dick Durbin is the whip. Is Durbin the whip? Something like that. I'll look it up here in a second.
YPL. They take young men and women who are aspiring to public office on trips to various parts of the world where you spend an extra amount of time to come to understand the situation. I was lucky. I had an
That's
opportunity
second or
to visit the
third
Soviet
in
Union
Senate
in the
Democrat
worst
leadership.
Cold War atmosphere and environment. More than 2.5 weeks in the
Dick Whip. Minty, good evening.
moving from one city to the other and seeing what Soviet communism looked like. During the course of that trip, we visited what was then a Soviet Republic of Lithuania. It had a personal appeal to me for family reasons. My mother was born in Lithuania and was an immigrant to the United States at the age of 2. I'd never been there before, and I was shocked by what I saw. This once great country had become a vassal of the Soviet state, and the poor people there were struggling to maintain the most basic of freedoms. Lucky for me, a few years later, I was elected to Congress, serving first in the House and now in the Senate. And I've been able to see a dramatic rebirth of Lithuania. Of course, at the end of
Honestly, I think the Democratic Party is salvageable. We just have to get all the old people out of it. Get rid of Dick Durbin, get rid of Chuck Schumer. It's workable, it's manageable. We can save it. We just need people that are under 40.
Soviet Union, they had their chance
Under 50.
and fought for democracy. They gave lives and blood for that purpose.
I forget how old I am sometimes.
They won their freedom, their independence. Lithuania is not a big country with a big military budget. It is a small nation with a good military, but certainly no match for anyone like Russia today. They have been concerned ever since that the day would come when Russia would reassert its ownership of Lithuania, Latvia, and Estonia.
What?
And so that's why they became members of NATO. And what a celebration that brought on, to realize finally that they were allies of the United States.
Yeah, not a fan of
To
Slotkin.
back them up, to protect them. Same is true of Poland.
But when we watched her debate, like there were stark differences between her and someone like
Worried
Durbin.
about the same fate. Now, having won their independence, will they see it threatened by Russia in the future? And so this decision by President Trump to reach out directly to Putin and negotiate is worrisome to me in many respects. First, what does it say of the NATO alliance? An alliance which used to bring together some of the greatest nations in the world to stand by their side, one by one, and protect the future of their country. President Trump is not even engaging the NATO alliance in this conversation about the future of Ukraine. In fact, he is hardly engaging Ukraine.
Slotkin has an APAC money.
I worry about where this is going.
And she's like an inside. She was
I
the
hope it
CIA
leads to
one, right?
Peace in Ukraine, the right kind of peace that we can count on.
In Michigan.
And I hope that the people of that country, which have shown such extraordinary courage with the support of the United States and NATO up until now, realize that we are still committed to the values that they value as well. That's in our future. But I worry the opposite will occur, that President Trump will give in to Putin and his demands, and Putin will then target the Baltics and Poland, and I don't know where, in his next assault on sovereignty.
He sounds like Super Dave from Curb Your Enthusiasm, Morty Funkhauser. He's got the same voice, but he's not funny. He's not affable the way that Morty Funkhauser is. Dave, what's his name? Nachu. Good evening. Welcome in. Yeah, Dave Osborne. What do you mean that Elizabeth Warren was Elon Musk of her time? Warren was a professor. I know she had like some investments and stuff. Yeah, Super Dave Osborne, that's it. She was a Republican though. Wow. Listening to I don't know if it's just that the parties have shifted so far right. Or that I don't know, like her being a Republican then and a Democrat now, what does it say about the parties? Warren is very good at her job. It would have been nice if she could have been the CFPB director or chair or whatever. I'm glad so many of you know Super Dave. Does Durbin not sound like Super Dave? He sounds like him, but he doesn't. He's not witty or personable. Is she a part of the corrupt system? I think Warren is one of the better senators we have. I'm not exactly sure what you're talking about, but I'm like, she's also a capitalist though, so like you could be referring to that. Like, and I can't disagree with you there. You see, like I'm not exactly sure what you're getting at there, but I probably agree with you. But she is definitely one of the better senators. I want people to stop attacking the better senators that we have. you don't need to glaze them, but kind of, you know, lift them up, give them their props so that we get more of them and then we can get more progressive senator. Like, I think the nominal left, when I say the nominal left, I mean the left wing of American politics, not there is no leftist party. The left coalition in this country, what the left, quote unquote. I think you do that by, you know, not attacking the AOCs and the Talibs and the Omars, but, you know, trying to like highlight what they do, and then we can get more of them. And I'm also trying to do this without cursing. Warren is sock dim and she is very much a capitalist, but she believes in strong regulations. There's all these terms are malleable too. None of it makes any sense. And how did we get on this? Yeah. You're right, DJ Dub. Dim Socks. Dim Socks is over here. He's laying on the bed. Benjamin Netanyahu. I have a degree in philosophy and I don't fucking understand the shit. Benjamin Netanyahu announces deal with Hamas for more hostages to be released.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says a deal has been made with Hamas to release 6 more hostages this weekend. Under the original agreement, 3 hostages were set to be freed this Saturday and 3 more the following week. The bodies of 4 deceased hostages are also set to be handed over on Thursday. Israel and Hamas are expected to begin indirect negotiations on a second stage of the Gaza ceasefire deal this week. Israel is facing criticism for leaving some of its troops in southern Lebanon, despite today's deadline to withdraw from the country as part of a ceasefire agreement with Hezbollah. Hugo Bachega from our partners at BBC is in Lebanon with more on that part of the story.
This is the village of Kfar Kila in southern Lebanon, and today was the first opportunity for residents to come and see the destruction caused by the war. Families who came to see it.
How are these people ever going to have anything if everything they have,
there's nothing really left to
continually destroyed?
Now, this is a village right next to the border with Israel, and today was the end of the deadline for the withdrawal of Israeli troops from Lebanon. Israeli troops have left communities like this one, but they have stayed in 5.
And now you expect Lebanon to be a functioning country and not produce more terrorists?
Hill posts as strategic locations, and they say those troops are going to stay there indefinitely because the Lebanese army hasn't fully deployed in those parts of the country. Now, this is something that is rejected by the Lebanese authorities, and they say that any remaining Israeli presence will be considered as
what are those tanks spraying?
Lebanese territory. Now, we've seen a lot of people here with Hezbollah flags. Also,
motherfucker had a goddamn grenade launcher.
Leader Hassan Nasrallah. So this shows that Hezbollah still enjoys significant support in this part of the country, where for decades they have been the dominant force. Now, this is just the beginning of the effort to rebuild what's been destroyed. It is estimated that the cost of reconstruction, also economic damage caused by the war, will be reaching more
for what?
$10 billion, and nobody really knows who is going to help to pay for that.
I'm sure it's not going to be Israel. And for what? Just to make Israel feel better? It's all about their feelings, honestly. Explain to me what that incursion into Lebanon had to do with anything other than just making Israel feel better. They had the feels. The White House argued in court that Elon Musk is not a part of Doge. I find this a fascinating development.
Sending what can only be described as mixed signals about who is actually running the Department of Government Affairs.
Spicy butt sauce.
Court filing late last night said that Elon Musk is not technically.
Is it ironic, especially if the American in question has condemned America for all the shitty things America has done? You get a titty slap for that.
A titty slap!
Come on now.
I mean, I can agree with you. Like, yeah, it is kind of ironic for an American to criticize Israel, but I'm also criticizing Israel because my tax dollars are funding what they're doing.
Part of Doge and actually serves as a senior advisor to the president, which means he may serve in that role longer than originally articulated by the White House, which suggested it would be about a term of employment roughly 6 months. The White House press secretary was asked about this earlier today.
Elon Musk has been tasked with overseeing Doge on behalf of the president, and Doge employees, Doge folks have been onboarding at respective agencies across our federal bureaucracy as political appointees, just like any other political appointee gets on board with the new administration with the changing of hands.
Jake Rosen joins us now from our D.C. bureau. Jake.
What up, Jake?
The audience make sense of what this legal filing says and suggests about not only what Elon Musk's role is, what the duration of it might be.
Right. This filing came late last night in a case that was actually decided further on earlier today, in which the government laid out via an affidavit from someone who works in the executive branch of the White House, basically an administrative staffer, who said that Elon Musk is just that, a senior White House advisor. They compared him to Anita Dunn, who worked under President Biden as kind of oversaw many buckets of government and many buckets of management within the White House. They said that he has no formal administrative role over Doge. He has no formal administrative role over any part of what they're doing there, and is certainly not the head of it. This came because there's a lawsuit by over 18 states' attorney general, all liberal, who sued the federal government, including Elon Musk, in his capacity as what they thought was head of Doge and the Department of Government Efficiency, alleging that Elon Musk's role is unconstitutional. Now, obviously, this helped defend Elon Musk in this by basically saying it's not actually him, it's just a separate department in the government, and Musk is an advisor to the president. However, that does contradict really what we saw last week in the Oval Office between Trump and Elon Musk when Musk was there with his child, and they had that very contentious and controversial kind of press engagement, but really it stemmed from a lot of that.
Is Musk living at the White House the way he was living at Mar-a-Lago?
Conversation being conducted by the White House that in this advisory capacity, it's really the heads of the various agencies that are making these decisions on laying off federal workers, taking it out of Elon Musk, and they hope creating more legal protection for those layoffs themselves.
Right, and the problem, though, Major, is that what a lot of these lawsuits that have stemmed from these Doge filings iterate, and especially across over about a dozen lawsuits aimed at Doge, is that especially the ones aimed at those employees who'd been fired by Elon Musk's Doge employees at these agencies, is that really nobody from the agencies knows who these people are. They usually come in and either take someone's badge away or they cut their access off.
What's their balls?
I think when you think about what Trump has said about Elon Musk's role in this, yes, Trump is the number one.
Of course, MILF. Ask and you shall receive. Let me see who I can scrounge up. Well, it's Abby. Aunt, good evening. Butt sauce. Are you wanting to argue, or you want to get in the Discord or the phone? I'm happy to argue with you, because I'm interested. Like, what are these problems that I claim to hate? How am I part of them? You're like rambling, babbling off about nonsense. But I'm intrigued. Like, what? Go be a monk and live out all your ideals. How do you know anything about what my ideals are? Flash, good evening. I'm down for it, buddy. Do you want to call in? Do you want to hop in my Discord? 917-830-4359. That's the phone number. Or you can hop in the Debate Freakin Discord chat, and I'm happy to discuss whatever you want, my friend. I want to know what ideals you think I have. I want you to define irony for me. I don't argue with people in the chat. Like, that's the only rule that we have. If you're not talking about the news, we have to engage in a voice chat. Like, it will be on Twitch for everybody to see and hear. Exactly, Mill. Maynard waved at you. He's hoping you get to feeling better. Are you high? Oh yeah, I'm meeting business tonight. Cracking my knuckles. I always mean business. I'm dying. Then call in, motherfucker. Are you not on the phone? 917-830-4359. What the hell? I don't think you even have to download Discord. I think you can do it through the browser app. Actual phone, that is my number. You call it, it will ring. I'll be like, caller, you're on the Troll Patrol. What's going on? I'm in the mood to argue, and you want to come in here and be contrary. So I want to talk to you. I want to pick your brain. I want to know why you think the way you do. You wanted my attention. You wanted the chat's attention. You got it, my friend. What the hell? I'm not high enough for this shit.
Hey Justin, are you trolling?
Curiouser is here. Hey Curiouser, good evening. And people like want to come in and troll me. If you want to troll me, the best thing you could do is make me look stupid on my own show. And I feel like, okay, so it kind of seems like I got the home field advantage, but when you think about it, like you've got me at a disadvantage because I don't know what you're going to talk about. I will argue with anybody about anything. Psycom, good evening. So you've got the ability. I let you pick the topic. I let you decide what we're going to argue about. All to gain, and I have it all to lose. It's just another day at the office for me. Just another day of mass shooting USA. Some people don't like the arguing, though. Some people come for the news. Avalon, good evening. You never have to apologize, Avalon. I love you guys and how supportive you are. We had a Chud, but I think everybody scared him away. Run away, little Chud. You get a titty slap.
A titty slap!
Come on now.
Unfortunately, a judge has denied a request to block the Doge activity that's going on.
Jay, it appears that the Trump administration got a win today, at least one of those legal battles that they've been fighting over Doge. That federal judge in Washington denying an urgent request to block Doge from firing employees or accessing sensitive records.
No touch for thee.
Half a dozen departments. But we also saw the president really kind of heralding Doge's efforts and also the efforts of Elon Musk. But there's still some questions about his role in this administration.
Yeah, exactly right, Alex. So just kind of unpacking everything there. First and foremost, this was a case, as you said, brought by Democratic attorneys general. It was looking to temporarily block Elon Musk and Doge from continuing its mass firings across the federal government and from accessing sensitive records at agencies like the Department of Health and Human Services, the Department of Education, the Department of Labor, and the list goes on. And that's because Elon Musk and Doge, A, have said that they have this broad power to execute these firings of what are largely probationary federal workers, and B, have said they want access to sensitive data across the federal government to root out what they say is fraud. And some of this is places like
I didn't know what he meant when he said he only does Twitch. I forgot. My friend, I got banned from Twitch. I was gone for like a year. I haven't even been back a year yet. Maybe 8-9 months, something like that. That's a feature they added. That was not something that it used to have. So, like, that's relatively new to me. And I didn't even think about that. I don't know that I'm set up to do that. Hold on, let me look. Cause yeah, I'll just invite you on Twitch. What the fuck? I don't care. Spicy butt sauce. Level up your collaboration with shared chat and shared viewership. Start shared chat, not now. Okay. There you go. There you go. Oh, do I need to send it in? No, I did send an invite. Did you get the invite? This is pretty easy. I'll give Twitch props. There we go. Spicy butt sauce. Start viewer call-ins. That's a thing I could do in here? Huh. Does it say you guys can all call in now? This is like I'm learning about this feature like on stream right now. That's neat. Well, there you go. There you go, you little bitch. Come on. Oh my God. Oh my God. Mother, I mean, like, what else can I do? How much more accommodating can I possibly be for this? Tadpole! Tadpole, I'm so glad to see. I'm happy tonight. I spent the day with Curiouser. She can turn the world on with her smile. And she's like in a corner somewhere grinching, like she's still watching, like, the fuck? I ain't gonna get no motherfucker, am I? Oh, and also my ribs were really good. God damn. Well, that's something I can play around with. Oh shit, Psycom, I stopped it like just now. How to do that again? I don't know how to get the... Oh, I totally understand not paying. I don't pay for the phone number I'm using for the Twitch, right? It's my Google number. You can have as many Google numbers as you have. Yeah, it's a VoIP or VoIP. I don't remember what the actual, because I did a fucking commercial for a VoIP or a VoIP or whatever the fuck. Well, yeah, but you can call on your Google number. We're all dying to hear what you got to say. You better hit us with some goddamn Mark Twain shit. You fucking nerds in the chat. I love you guys so much. I don't know what that means. Phone calls are too much. Just fucking derailing my show is too. But like, I love to argue with, and you're gonna end up like being cool and shit. We're gonna agree on everything, and you were just trolling. Goddamn motherfucker! I've got music playing. Goddamn, we're going back to the news then. A Social Security Administration official has resigned over the activities of one Elon Musk and his Doge department. No, I'm disappointed I don't get to argue with a dumbass. Big mad.
And Elon Musk's latest moves to reshape the federal government. The top Social Security official stepped down after Musk's team requested access to sensitive personal data about millions of Americans. Senior political correspondent Rachel Scott is tracking it from Mar-a-Lago. Good morning, Rachel.
George, good morning to you. And this is just the latest official to leave after clashing with Elon Musk and his Department of Government Efficiency. And it comes as federal workers are bracing for more layoffs and firings today.
Elon Musk has got to go.
Overnight, protests popping up in cities across the country.
Where is Congress?
Hundreds demonstrating against President Trump and Elon Musk as they push forward with changes to shrink the size of the federal government. ABC News learning the top Social Security official has stepped down after clashing with the Department of Government Efficiency over access to the sensitive personal information of millions of Americans, including financial data and employment information.
President Trump has directed Elon Musk and the Doge team to identify fraud at the Social Security Administration.
Musk's team has also requested access to a data system at the IRS that retains Americans' personal tax information and includes their tax filings and bank statements. Democrats pushing back.
If you think there's fraud, then why did you fire all the inspector generals, okay? If you think there's something we can do here, then let's do this the right way.
Across the federal government, firings touching more than a dozen agencies, from the CDC to Veterans Affairs, and even the Federal Aviation Administration. At the Department of Housing and Urban Development, the union warning they expect a 50% cut to the workforce by May. Sources tell us 15,000 workers at the IRS have been identified for possible termination, with tax season just around the corner. Victoria tells us
it is tax season right now.
In Montana.
Elon Musk doesn't even know my job exists, right? But like, we do a lot. I mean, I'm a public servant, and I do this job because I love it. So yeah, I'm devastated.
File your taxes now.
Lost their jobs.
They're expecting to get money back.
Other government workers like Elizabeth Anaskevich, who worked for the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, says she doesn't even have enough information to file for unemployment.
We were just basically tossed out on the streets. And so that has been angering and heartbreaking. And our pay stopped the day we got the termination letter. So we're all without a paycheck as of Tuesday.
So the administration has not provided any clarity on just how many federal workers have been let go, but they did give every single federal agency a deadline of today to let go of any probationary workers. George.
And Rachel, the president has made a controversial pick to be the top federal prosecutor in Washington, D.C.
Yeah, this is an important role, and the president has nominated Ed Martin. Martin has pushed false claims
that dude
in the election. He defended January 6 rioters in court, and then he ultimately, in his interim role, helped dismiss those cases and fire the prosecutors who brought those charges. He will have to be confirmed by the U.S. Senate to keep that role permanently, George.
Okay, Rachel, thanks very much.
Shut up, George. One of the departments that Elon is doing is cost-cutting measures on. Might have actually been reviewing his brain chips. Doge purges FDA workers reviewing Elon Musk's Neuralink brain chip. The group of 20 from the Food and Drug Administration's Office of Neurological and Physical Medicine Devices were abruptly axed over the weekend as part of a broader purge of federal workforce. Doge and its young staffers have moved at breakneck speed to cut federal spending at the expense of tens of thousands of jobs in the federal government. Critics have claimed Musk's team should not have the power to make such sweeping firings, in part because his businesses, including SpaceX and Tesla, have a number of contracts with the federal government. This weekend's FDA firings again sparked conflict of interest discussions with Musk at the helm of Doge. Reuters reported I like saying it funny. Reuters reported alarm bells are already going off within the medical community. It's intimidating to the FDA professionals who are overseeing Neuralink's trial. This is according to Victor Krauthammer, a former FDA official for 3 decades. We should be worried that the whole trial and the protection of the people in the trial. President Donald Trump has said Musk would excuse himself from any conflicts of interest at Doge. It is unclear if Musk had a personal say in the FDA scientist firing, but 2 sources in the agency told Reuters they do not believe their work on Neuralink specifically led to them being targeted. The latest cuts come amid a purge of about 5,200 workers in the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. The cuts largely impacted probationary employees, workers who have been in their positions for less than 2 years, who do not have the same protections as senior workers. Well, since we're talking about the Department of Health and Human Services, the secretary of that department gave his first speech, and it was apparently a doozy. You guys ready for Maha? Maha is the noise that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. makes. Maha, maha.
Last Thursday, President Trump signed an executive order to establish the Maha Commission to study what has caused the precipitous decline in American health over the past 2 generations. So we will convene representatives of all viewpoints to study the causes for the drastic rise in chronic disease. Some of the possible factors we will investigate were formerly taboo or insufficiently scrutinized. The childhood vaccine schedule, electromagnetic radiation.
Oh yeah, he's looking really leathery.
Glyphosate, other pesticides, ultra-processed foods, artificial food additives, SSRI and other psychiatric drugs, PFAs, PFOAs, microplastics. Nothing is going to be off limits. Whatever belief or suspicion I have expressed in the past, I'm willing to...
I feel like the ASL person in the corner is very much a DEI hire. I don't even know what that means.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
The woman.
Subject them all to the scrutiny of unbiased science. That is going to be our template. Unbiased science. That's something that will make us all proud.
The whole thing seems a little DEI.
And of our role in restoring American health. Let's commission research that will satisfy all the stakeholders.
This is Frank.
Once and for all, let's use protocols that we all agree on in advance.
Frank endorses Bear.
The outcomes of studies when they're halfway through and that they look inconvenient. Let's all depoliticize these issues and reestablish a common ground for action and renew the search for existential truth with no political impediments and no preconceptions. Finally, I want to ask you to think about
Maynard's back here clawing at the door. RFK, one of the newest people coming into the administration. Apparently several people are going to be leaving the administration. The head of the Postal Service, Louis DeJoy, apparently appointed by Trump at the end of his first term, stepping down now that Trump has come back in.
But developing tonight at 6 after nearly a year of postal problems in Georgia, Postmaster General Louis DeJoy is announcing the search for his replacement.
The move follows intense criticism of his plan to overhaul the U.S. Postal Service, which caused dramatic drops in delivery times. Liza Lucas has more on this announcement.
Postmaster General Louis DeJoy says in 2020, he inherited a postal service in disarray.
You are responsible for the fall of the Postal Service and the lack of accountability.
Congress is responsible for the fall of the Postal Service.
So it's Congress.
I am trying to fix
on your
the Postal
watch.
Service.
His 10-year Delivering for America plan looked to reverse 2 decades of financial losses. But here in Georgia, it delivered frustration.
Are mail and packages being delivered on time in Georgia today?
No, sir.
The launch of a regional processing and distribution center in Palmetto last February led to complaints of delayed or misplaced packages, tax documents, and prescriptions.
This isn't, oh, your package is lost. This is, you're messing with my family's health.
On-time delivery rates for first-class mail also dropped to a low of 36% in March. And for months, DeJoy faced increasing scrutiny.
All the AI with all the computer systems, you're worse than if I took a horse and picked up the mail and delivered it 2 miles down the road.
Even as mail service slowly improved, Georgia Senator John Ossoff proposed more oversight of the Postmaster General, introducing legislation that would set term limits and require congressional approval for the position. Nearly a year later, on-time delivery for first-class mail in Georgia sits at just 68%, much lower than the goal of 93%. The Postal Service most recently blaming winter weather for the delays. Meanwhile,
68%?
with regional hubs.
At least get it up to 69.
In Monday's letter to the Board of Governors, Postmaster General DeJoy stood firmly behind his efforts to transform the Postal Service, saying he faced an unceasing resistance to change and that the most obvious solutions received illogical and irrational scrutiny from those he says that have no responsibility for ensuring the financial viability of the Postal Service.
Postmaster DeJoy did not give a timeline for when he will step down, but says he plans to be as helpful as possible in facilitating the transition. Meanwhile, Senator John Ossoff sent a response to the announcement, saying in part, as the Board of Governors begins its search for a replacement, I urge them to find new leadership that will swiftly restore normal service that Georgia families and businesses can rely on.
The mill is supposed to go through rain, sleet, snow, or sunshine. Supposed to be no stopping it. There was a song I used to sing for show and tell when I was in like first grade, but I don't remember it. Zon, good evening. Spicy, have you ever seen the meme about like, oh, but yet you live here? I think I'm fucking it up. Whatever, like the yet you criticize capitalism thing. That's what you're doing. Like it's weird. The head of the FDA has resigned over indiscriminate firing of personnel.
That the head of the FDA's food division has resigned. Jim Jones says he quit because of the indiscriminate firing of roughly 89 people at his department.
Wait, Jim Jones was the head of the FDA? This is the guy that did the Kool-Aid thing, right? Zon, did I tell you good evening? Well.
That the head of the FDA's food division has resigned. Jim Jones says he quit because of the indiscriminate firing of roughly 89 people at his department.
Yeah, indiscriminate is the key
Jim
word.
Jones.
More reason to it. Our White House correspondent Mary Alice Parks is here with more on this. Mary Alice, have you been covering the Doge works, the Doge guys, whatever we're calling them, throughout the government? This is another instance where at least, you know, the head of the FDA, the acting head, feels that they went in a chaotic direction. What impact is all this going to have?
Yeah, like you guys said, Jim Jones, who was the deputy FDA commissioner in charge of foods, wrote in this resignation letter, I was looking forward to working to pursue the department's agenda for improving the health of Americans by reducing diet-related chronic disease. Obviously, that's been a big priority of the new Secretary of Health and Human Services, RFK. And he says he wanted to reduce the risk of chemicals in food. But the letter goes on to say, it's been increasingly clear with the Trump administration's disdain for the very people necessary to implement your agenda, it would have been fruitless for me to continue in this role. Like you said, he described in his words, indiscriminate firings of 89 people that he said were staffed with working on nutrition and infant formula safety, staff that was hired to look at food ingredients. And of course, like I said, that's been a priority.
We're in for a fun time here in America.
Human Services, but also a constant and really growing concern among Americans. We're thinking about those stories over the last few years of infant food recalls, a number of food recalls just in the last year that have proven deadly across this country. So we're talking about work that really impacts the lives of Americans. it has been interesting to listen to this White House talk about agencies being required to make across-the-board cuts. We know that a lot of these agencies were required to put probationary employees who'd only been in their roles for less than a year on leave, and to sort of meet.
Now, these could be people that have been promoted.
Dramatically reduce the size of the federal government, sort of regardless of what those agencies and some of those programs are working on. And I will tell you guys, I've heard of this complaint from a lot of federal employees at different agencies that they're concerned that no one at the White House is asking enough about what they actually do before their programs are being eliminated. So I think this does get to a larger concern we're hearing across the federal government, that this DOJ organization with inside the White House is working very fast. And in this case, we have a deputy commissioner of the FDA saying that it went too far and he can't stay.
So Jim Jones is one of thousands of workers clearly not happy with Elon Musk and DOJ and all these firings. And now there's this new filing where White House lawyers actually claim that Musk doesn't even have formal authority to make government decisions. So what's going on?
Yeah, this is really interesting. I mean, this gets at the heart of so many of these lawsuits. Does Elon Musk, does his team have statutory authority to make hiring and firing decisions? The White House is now saying no, that Musk does not, that the only person making sort of hiring and firing decisions at an agency is the agency head. Now, it's really interesting in some of these agencies, of course, there is not a Senate confirmed head of that agency. We're still in a transition process where a lot of those confirmation hearings are still happening on Capitol Hill. And in those instances, normally there is an acting agency head, but we've heard so many of these acting heads feel like they're getting immense pressure from Musk's team and real conflicting guidance about whether Musk's team or the agency head is calling the shots. I think that right now it looks like the White House is trying to sort of cover Musk, say that he was not the one making these decisions. But of course, we've heard the president himself in the Oval Office saying that Musk basically has free reign. So it's really going to sort of come down to the judges in these lawsuits, I think, to put more pressure on the White House to sort out exactly what kind of authority Musk actually has.
The Amish was your example of a commune. The Amish are very industrious. You will notice many of them run bakeries and shit. And they build houses. They sell like fake fireplaces. That's a thing Amish people do. Why would we need to go live with that? Like, brother, like, you're just a dumbass. Why would I want to give up the society I live in instead of just changing it for the better? And also, I'm a capitalist. I own my own business. I work for myself. If you punch a clock, you're not a capitalist. If you have a boss, you're not a capitalist. Your boss is a capitalist. So, like, people don't even understand the systems they're talking about. And I have unabashedly called myself a capitalist. You come in and make a lot of assumptions, and you're just making an ass of yourself. This is why I call right-wingers fucking morons. Boom! The head of the DOJ's Criminal Investigations Division has announced their resignation. I have a feeling this might have something to do with our good buddy Eric Adams in New York.
The head of the Justice Department's Washington, D.C. Criminal Division has just resigned. In an email obtained by CBS News, Denise Chung tells her colleagues she is leaving.
Everybody, Denise Chung tonight.
Washington, D.C. Criminal Division has just... The head of the Justice
Oh my God!
D.C. Criminal Division has just resigned. In an email obtained by CBS News, Denise Chung tells her colleagues she is leaving her role. Her resignation comes one day after President Trump announced he nominated Ed Martin for Washington's top.
I can't even operate YouTube.
Federal prosecutor job. Martin is a loyal ally of the president and defended January 6th rioters. Let's bring in CBS News Department of Justice reporter Jake Rosen. Jake, thank you for joining us today. Tell us what we know about all of this so far.
Well, right, this continues kind of the turmoil that we've seen at the Department of Justice over the last couple of weeks.
Did we just hear from this dude?
Saw 7 resignations in the Department of Justice and in SDNY up in New York after the Eric Adams decision to drop the charges in his case of corruption last week. Now, in a different matter, these are still career prosecutors who have worked their entire careers doing this kind of stuff, whether it's violent crime just in D.C. or other criminal charges. The head of that division has resigned after Ed Martin, who is an election denier, again, like you said, a staunch ally of Donald Trump, and has also really signaled that he is kind of working with, or at least alongside, Elon Musk in kind of giving oxygen to a lot of the fraud and
what kind of chocolate do we want?
Waste claims that have been mentioned, in addition to claims that Elon Musk has echoed on social media, unfounded, that there are increased threats against conservatives, or coming out from Congress members and things like that in their rhetoric against Donald Trump in the last couple of weeks. So we'll have to see what the further fallout of this is after this. But again, just another kind of domino falling down here in D.C. and related to really just career prosecutors.
I think I'm going to go with brownie batter.
Not being willing to participate.
Brother, do you even know what hypocrite means?
Yeah, yet another resignation to put on the list there. Jake, this comes amid a flurry of other resignations at the Justice Department. Federal prosecutors are stepping down in protest to a DOJ order to drop corruption charges against New York City Mayor Eric Adams. At a press conference this morning, New York City Comptroller Brandon Lander says he believes Adams puts his own interests above those of New Yorkers to get his case dismissed. Let's take a listen to that.
That then became even clearer last week when the Justice Department turned the process of so-called justice into a kind of hostage-taking and made clear right out in public for everyone that his case,
God damn, this brownie batter is amazing.
Contingent on his doing their bidding on immigration and who knows what else.
So, Jake, what is your reaction to all this, and how do we expect this to play out?
Well, what you just heard there is really what we've heard from a lot of people coming out of New York City the last couple of weeks as this Eric Adams decision loomed into then finally a move on Friday night to drop the case. Early this morning,
do the vanilla
judge in that
cream.
case, who would have to sign off on any official ending of the charges
Vanilla cream.
Case against Eric Adams, it called both parties in tomorrow at 2 p.m. in New York City to hear from both sides on the case of what the Department of Justice actually wants to do, to hear from the career Department of Justice employee who is going to be bringing forward that motion. And the judge really has very little power over what he can do in the long haul. In this case, it looks like the judge will probably have to drop.
Brother, nobody was complaining about capitalism and imperialism.
Not make it to November.
You're the one that brought all this shit up.
There to drop out before then. We saw Kathy Hochul last night, the governor of New York, say that she's concerned about his long-term standing as mayor. What that really means is yet to be determined, whether that means she expects him to step down in the short term or whether maybe she expects him to not get involved in the mayoral race for another term.
I think I want milk
Jake,
now.
I also want to ask you about a hearing we're following today. It's happening in Washington, D.C. over President Trump's order to ban
fuck Musk. He's a dumb fuck.
From the U.S. military. What do we know about that?
Right, and the hearing is still ongoing. They took a bit of a 15-minute break, which is why I'm here talking to you. But Judge Ana Reyes is hearing that case. It goes back to that executive order that Trump promised on the campaign trail and put in place on Inauguration Day, in which he called it a trans ban on military members, meaning people who are transitioning, in the process of transitioning, or want to be recruited into the military who have transitioned are no longer welcome. The Army echoed that sentiment in a tweet earlier this week, and attorneys for 7 plaintiffs who are trans military service members with over 50 years of experience, 60 medals, are bringing a case representing their clients, saying this is unfair, that these people have done exactly what was asked of them in a military role, and that they are still fit to serve, if not just fit to serve, fit to continue ranking up in the military. We'll see. That case, the executive order is currently on pause by the judge right now. The hearing today is whether to extend that indefinitely or for the next couple of weeks as further litigation plays out. But again, this judge, Ana Reyes, has put put a halt so far on one of Trump's major campaign promises.
All right, Jake Rosen, thank you so much for your time today.
The idea that Musk equals capitalism is hilarious to me. That's one of the funniest things I've ever heard. I'm sorry, these chocolates are really good, and I'm really stoned, so, you know. Kathy Hochul had a meeting today about what to do with Mayor Eric Adams.
The biggest city in the country remains under a ginormous political microscope. The focus of it, all New York Mayor Adams.
What a dumbass
today with
sucking from the tea to government. Yeah, that's what capitalism leads to.
What will she do with all this? And will President Trump do anything, given the legal turmoil his Justice Department caused over trying to wipe out the indictment of Mr. Adams? What a mess this is. Eyewitness News reporter Darla Miles with the story. She's live at City Hall for us. Darla.
Bill, the word mess is subjective, especially when terms with Mayor Adams. He says the City Hall will go on and will not resign. He is not stepping down from his post. But there are calls to remove him for office, and that's why Kathy Hochul had meetings all day today to discuss just that. But it may be easier said than done.
How did your conversation with Hochul go?
Productive meeting. City Council Speaker Adrienne Adams keeping the details of her Tuesday afternoon meeting with Governor Hochul close to the vest after calling for Mayor Adams to step down yesterday.
Governor Hochul, fight back, remove Eric Adams.
The resignation of 4 deputy mayors in one day, just the latest chapter in the crisis at City Hall, prompting Hochul to call high-stakes virtual and in-person meetings today, which include Senate Majority Leader Hakeem Jeffries, Representative Greg Meeks, State Assembly Speaker Carl Hastie, and Reverend Al Sharpton.
People have been shaken, and there needs to be a resolve, but at the same time, we must protect the law and not establish a precedent that could come back to haunt us.
Under the city charter, the mayor may be removed from office by the governor upon charges, and the mayor must have an opportunity to be heard in his defense, which is what some leaders and activists have been calling on Hochul to do.
There are 2 ways, I understand, whether or not there's a crime or whether there's enough of an outcry of the city or of a given city that you've lost the public trust.
Also under the city charter, Comptroller Brad Lander could convene a panel on mayoral inability and states if 4 of the 5 members vote that Adams is unable to govern, a vote by the entire city council must take place in 21 days and also requires a majority of 2/3 vote to oust the mayor.
We talked about both the state and the city processes, and we acknowledged both of them are relatively untested processes with a lot of questions around them.
But either process could be long and drawn out, possibly exacerbating instability at City Hall.
We talked about staying in communication, not just tomorrow. I mean, there's tomorrow's court case, there's what will come in a contingency plan, there's what happens on Friday. So there's a set of things we talked about watching, and that, you know, we will continue to stay in dialogue.
Governor Hochul will continue to hold meetings tomorrow about the crisis at City Hall. Meanwhile, as for those 4 deputy mayors who resigned yesterday, well, they did return to City Hall today to work, staying on until their replacement will be named. Reporting live at City Hall, Darla Miles, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Cool, buddy. You think I'm a hypocrite. I don't think you know what hypocrite means, and I think you're pretty fucking stupid, so.
Do you think we're stupid? You think we're fools?
I'm enjoying my chocolates. Chocolate, by the way, cocoa, one of the most exploitative industries on the planet. And boy, do I love chocolate. Who is lying to their self? You dumb fuck. What in the fuck are you talking about? And you're just spouting off. And it's funny to me. Like, it doesn't mean anything. Alien, good evening. So let's go from Eric Adams, the mayor of New York, to our favorite mayor over in Dawson, Thornton Township. Tiffany Henyard has had a new lawsuit filed against her as a result of the fight that we watched the other night. The super mayor.
So there is a new round of troubles for a suburban politician. Two men say they were injured in that brawl that happened during a public meeting last month, and they are now suing Dalton Mayor Tiffany Henyard and others. NBC5's Regina Waldrop is on the story. She has exclusive details tonight, speaking with both men and Henyard's attorney.
It was a jarring scene at a recent Thornton Township board meeting. This large fight erupted shortly after Jedediah Brown called Supervisor Tiffany Henyard an expletive.
Once there's this confrontation, Kamal Woods pushes and punches Lavelle Redmond. He takes a swing at him.
Both men say they were attacked and injured for exercising free speech. They also claim Henyard was a participant in the fight.
She attacks Lavelle Redmond first, hits him maybe twice, and then she goes right in onto Jedediah Brown. I take responsibility.
This is the last time I'm going to address you because everybody wants to really hear about Tiffany Henyard. This is a story we've been following. I don't give Bezos money. Never really have. I've had Amazon Prime 2 or 3 different times in my life. Bezos gives me money. So, yeah, Bezos gives me money. I'm not giving Bezos money. You see how that transaction works there? So how am I a hypocrite? You're not a smart person.
For my part in all of this, but it's under constitutionally protected lawful activity. I can say what I want to say, but at no time should a citizen feel that they will be attacked by an elected official.
They've both filed civil lawsuits for assault, battery, and emotional distress, naming Henyard, her boyfriend, a Village of Dalton employee,
Michael Ohma, means of production,
South Holland Police as defendants. Both men say they filed police reports with South Holland PD, but no one arrested. We reached out to the department, but didn't get a response.
She is to be held at the same standard as we all with the judicial or federal system. She's not exempt from that.
It was disheartening for me to see the police, after being attacked, tell me that they would not investigate this.
An attorney representing Tiffany Henyard says the claims made in the lawsuits are false.
I'm sure it'll be dismissed before it gets off the ground. So I don't think there's going to be much of any litigation that goes into it.
Brindley also
you're full of it.
Was involved.
The man brought a knife into the meeting hall, and he swung that knife at Jamal Woods. People got cut. So that's a fact. And now he wants to claim that he's a victim, that the mayor attacked him. It's on video. The mayor didn't do anything to him.
Matthew Costardo says the claims about his client having a knife, not true. He says the video speaks for itself.
The use of violence against individuals who are simply advocating for transparency and accountability in the community, that's just unspeakable, and it's unacceptable.
Both men are asking for compensation for medical bills and attorney's fees.
I mean, I like Henyard, so I don't know.
Jury trial. Regina Waldrop, NBC5 News.
I think we're pretty up on the previous coverage, actually. What is the story? Where did a troll go? Participating in the system legitimizes every action by the system. Why would you change the system then if you don't participate in it? Once again, I proudly state that I'm a capitalist. So your critique of me being a hypocrite rings hollow. Get over yourself. Nobody gives a shit. See ya, buddy. Judge suspends hearing after receiving information that causes her grave concern. This is the Karen Reed trial. This is the woman who had the cop boyfriend she is accused of killing. She says the cops killed him. First trial ended in a mistrial. This is supposed to be the start of the second trial. It looks like it's getting delayed.
Commonwealth just provided the court with information that causes me grave concern. The implications of that information may have profound effects on this defense and defense counsel.
Whoa, what is going on? A surprise suspension of the hearing in the Karen Reed case today. All of this, the latest dramatic twist leading up to her retrial in the death of her Boston cop boyfriend.
Today's hearing was in preparation for her second trial. Yep. Now it's about 6 weeks away. NBC 10's Gabrielle Caracciolo is live in studio with what happened just before that hearing came to a sudden end. Gabrielle?
Patrice, Jean, this happened as special prosecutor was arguing that there may be issues with the defense compensating or collaborating with witnesses that they didn't share with the Commonwealth. After hearing this, the judge took a break and then abruptly put things on pause for a week.
I care that it's unfair, imbalanced, and hidden. And the Commonwealth, like the defense, is entitled to discovery.
A new twist in the high-profile case against Karen Reed. A hearing ahead of the Mansfield woman's retrial abruptly ends. She's accused of hitting her boyfriend, Boston police officer John O'Keefe, with her SUV in 2022 and leaving him to die in the snow.
The Commonwealth just provided the court with information that causes me grave concern. The implications of that information may have profound effects on this defense and defense counsel.
Just before the judge made that announcement, Special Prosecutor Hank Brennan was arguing both sides are obligated to share evidence prior to trial, alleging Reed's defense may not have done so. He says new documents show her defense team communicated with accident reconstruction experts prior to their testimony, and they sent the defense a bill for nearly $24,000.
Commonwealth, as I understand it, was not aware of any promised rewards or inducements or payment.
One of those.
Michael, my man, the term doesn't even really have a hard definition. It comes from like Marx's interpretation of goddamn Gadsby. Like, it's a malleable term, so like trying to be pedantic on my usage of it does nobody any good. Still love you, my friend.
Witnesses testified the damage to Reed's SUV was not consistent with the pedestrian being hit.
Times parties pick sides. It creates an imbalance and unfairness, and then it allows the ability to one side to use ghosts. They create illusions and shields and say something's there and something's happening, a federal investigation, and this person, and then this happens.
Now, also today, Reed's team filed an appeal in federal court, again trying to get 2 of the charges dismissed on the grounds of double jeopardy. Today's hearing is set to resume.
I'm so on her side.
This federal appeal is also considered. In studio, Gabrielle Caracciolo, NBC 10 News.
The defense apparently paid some witnesses, perhaps like private investigators or some sort of forensic expert or something, and did not disclose that to the prosecution. So they have delayed the proceedings for a week. Spicy, my friend, one of the things that I get like so upset with right-wingers is like, what does that even mean? You can't seize power while you participate in capitalism. Like, I don't even know what the fuck that means. I don't know what you're trying to say. Like, you guys just assert things because you think it makes you sound intelligent, and it cracks me up. This next one I'm going to hit the content warning for. I skipped over it the other night. But I saw people criticize the media for not covering this story. I was not in a good headspace. I didn't want to cover the story. I didn't want to traumatize the chat. Because it's a horrendous... The horrendous event. So... I feel bad that I didn't cover it the other night because I even mentioned it. I was like, gonna skip over it. Spicy, I think it's patriotic to pay taxes. Jesus. Seriously, like, if you want to argue, fucking argue with me. Stop fucking up the chat. 5 people have been charged in the death of a transgender man. 3 of those 5 apparently had previous criminal convictions. They held this man for like a month, tortured him daily. He was found just a few days ago.
Coverage tonight on the horrific death of a transgender man in Ontario County. Authorities say Sam Nordquist was brutally tortured before he was killed. Nordquist, who's originally from Minnesota, came to the area to visit a friend. Sam's remains would later be found in a field in Yates County. 5 people now facing charges in this case. Nordquist's family arriving in Western New York this weekend. 13 Wham's Christian Garzone met with them today at a small gathering to remember Sam's life. Christian, good evening.
Good evening, Matt. Family and friends released balloons in Sam's memory today. The Nordquist family is here all the way from Minnesota. What they've discovered about our area is there are good people here. Their anger reserved for those accused of taking Sam's life.
I don't know. I don't know how I'm going to move on from this.
Kayla Nordquist says her brother Sam was looking for love. Sam thought he found a connection in our area a long way from home. Kayla and her family tried to stop him from making the long trip.
Oh, no.
So as a community, not everyone in the community is bad. It's just those individuals who are sick and decided they wanted to hurt Sam for no reason.
The love Sam was looking for, taken from him in such a brutal way. Lisa Leonard organized this vigil here in Geneva. She helped in the search efforts to find Sam and now wants the suspects to face maximum consequences.
Justice looks for me the death penalty, to be honest.
Lisa says the community is rallying around Sam and his family, showing the Nordquists the very best in our area.
There's over I say 25 to 30 more vigils just for Sam. He was a good soul. His whole family is.
It looks like they catfished him.
Kayla says discovering so much affection here, well, she just wishes Sam was here to actually feel it.
It really is really warming, and it helps with the process that Sam is actually loved from everybody, even though he didn't know that.
And as you heard in there will be a number of vigils for Sam, including another one tonight at Wood Library in Canandaigua. There'll be another one tomorrow evening.
He had a little acid reflux.
Center. Right back to you.
Christian, thank you. Also tonight, we are learning more about the criminal history of the 5 suspects in this case. Each is charged with second-degree murder. As of now, investigators say the facts of this case do not constitute hate crime charges. 13 Wham spoke with the Ontario County DA's office, continuing our team coverage this evening. Carly, good evening.
Good evening, Matt.
Yeah, Evelyn.
Are charged with second-degree murder and depraved indifference, which can carry a sentence of 15 to 20 years if convicted. Ontario County District Attorney Jim Ritz tells me that the murder of 24-year-old Sam Nordquist is the most horrific case his department has prosecuted.
It is absolutely, without question, the worst thing that we've ever seen.
5 suspects charged in connection to the disappearance and murder of Nordquist. Ritz says 3 out of the 5 suspects have previous criminal convictions. Kyle Sage and Patrick Goodwin are both currently on parole. Sage convicted of larceny and disseminating indecent material to a minor.
What?
Convicted of first-degree criminal sex act and sexual abuse involving a victim under the age of 11. Goodwin is a registered level 3 sex offender.
Fuck.
Precious Arzwaga has 4 misdemeanor convictions, nothing sexual, but petty larcenies, criminal trespass, and a sale of an imitation controlled substance.
Authorities say Nordquist, who is transgender, was living at Patty's Lodge in Hopewell after traveling from Minnesota. Police launched a missing person investigation last week after receiving a welfare check request from the victim's family. They believe the victim endured prolonged physical and psychological abuse and repeated acts of violence and torture between early December and early February. Police found the victim's body in a Yates County field Thursday.
I can tell you, in my 36 years, I've never seen anything this depraved. So it's hateful.
Ritz says Arzwaga and Nordquist were living at Patty's Lodge together. No word on a motive, and Ritz says there's no indication at this time the murder was a hate crime.
The question about hate crimes is whether that hate was derive from Sam's being a transgender person, or if these are just evil people who hate and would have done this regardless of Sam's situation.
Now, the DA tells me the relationship between all 6 people is still under investigation. Anyone with further information on this case is encouraged to call.
What in the fuck?
585-398-4100. Matt?
This next one is apparently very horrific as well, so content warning. Did you guys ban the troll? Now, did they use a slur or anything? We don't want to, Oh, okay. Somebody redeemed the points for it. Okay. Minty, you're good. All right, that is 100% within the rules of the game. Minty did a capitalism. Totally acceptable. So, my apologies, Avalon. Sorry if I got a little testy there. I see what went on. I hope that made him mad. It wasn't me. One more time, content warning. I don't want to ban anybody. Like, I will just ignore them and get back to the show. And the chat can have at them all they want. Dan, he's our man. Welcome in. 122 all. Thank you for being a freaking follower. You came for just like the worst story you could possibly imagine. Oh, I guess it's probably the last story. This one also gonna be fucking disgusting. Mom has been arrested after she abandoned her 3 kids. Wait till you see the house they were living in.
Yeah, literally. I mean, I found out about this on my way into work this afternoon, and there are no words. I mean, this is absolutely horrific. This is by far, I think, one of the worst stories we've ever covered here at Fox 2. And I want to warn everybody out there that the details are very...
That's a good word when you don't have a word.
If you think about the horrific ads you see on TV to spur donations for animals that have been abused or are living in terrible conditions, multiply that by 10.
A horrible story of abuse and abandonment. Investigators say 3 kids were living in a condo on Lydia Lane in Pontiac for years, alone in horrific conditions.
There was garbage, trash piled 3 and 4 feet high, covered with feces all through the house. It doesn't look like the toilet or the bathtub had been usable or workable for quite some time, primarily because of the feces and trash. I don't think they had basic hygiene knowledge of they hadn't been given hygiene products for years, and toothbrushes, etc.
A 15-year-old boy and 2 girls ages 12 and 13 in the house of horror since at least 2021, according to the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. Their mother or someone else would leave prepared food on the porch once a week.
They had basically been locked in the house without any kind of guidance or basic hygiene or any kind of education for years.
The kids were discovered Friday. The landlord called police and asked them to do a welfare check because he had not heard from the mother since December.
We went to the house to check on what was going on there and had no idea that there were kids there, let alone kids in grave situation.
Their 34-year-old mother arrested and being held at the Oakland County Jail. The children taken to an area hospital and are now in the care of a family member.
We showed up at the house. The young boy did have communication with the mom and said the police were there, and she said hide. When we took the kids out of the house, they had difficulty walking because their toenails were so long. They hadn't had any grooming.
Fuck!
Disheveled and unkempt, hair very matted, filthy.
Authorities trying to figure out how this abuse went on for so long without anyone knowing about it.
It's pretty heartbreaking that the
poor kids
live under those conditions. People just kind of get in their car and go. Another of my neighbors, we were just talking today, and she said to me, she says, look at all this snow. I don't see anybody out helping each other, shovel each other's snow. So I think people are just kind of just doing their own thing now and just kind of going in their places and closing the doors.
It's still just so incredibly hard to believe that these kids were in this condo for so many years, never seeing the sunlight, never trying to leave. They were apparently spending their time watching TV and playing games, not in school. We know that they had been enrolled in Pontiac schools years ago, but what happened? Why did they fall through the cracks? And it just, I mean, it's mind-boggling that the girls that we talked about, ages 12 and 13, the sheriff says they were sleeping on pizza boxes, old pizza boxes. A lot more to come on this story, but just absolutely heartbreaking. Reporting live, Camille and Mary, Fox 2 News.
Yeah, heartbreaking doesn't even begin to describe it. It's deplorable, it's despicable, it's disgusting, and I think it's really poignant what this woman said at the end of your piece, that people maybe aren't paying attention. Did the sheriff address anything in that realm, that folks need to maybe think a little more about what's happening?
Mind your own goddamn business.
If they see anything suspicious, so something
stay out of mine
for so long.
I hate to say that on such a horrific story.
I talked to another neighbor, and she'd only lived there since September, and she said she never heard anything, saw anything, smell anything. Those condos are so close together, but I think that, it makes us pause and just think how busy we all are in our own lives, but maybe we need to think if we never see anyone coming and going. And
why'd they make this reporter stand out here in the fucking cold and snow? It adds nothing to her shot.
If we see, people did see that food being dropped off at that porch, that maybe we need to start asking more questions and start figuring out what's going on if something doesn't seem right. But I mean, why these kids were basically, they were locked in there for at least 4 years. I mean, like you said, this story it's hard to wrap your head around.
I like the shots when it adds something to the story, when it's like, on the scene. And you've got like fucking caution tape behind you or something. That's one thing. She's just standing on the side of the road. She could have been in the studio. I think it would have looked better if it was in the studio. Going to Chicago, where an emergency room employee was stabbed by a patient.
Tonight, some new information on a chaotic day at Provident Hospital in Bronzeville. A patient suddenly attacked 2 healthcare workers, stabbing one of them. NBC5's Jason Everett.
I mean, if you're gonna get stabbed somewhere, at least you're already at the ER.
Has more on the investigation tonight.
Thank you, Minty.
A patient is in custody.
You owe me a Coke.
Injuring 2 staff members inside Provident Hospital in Bronzeville. Just after 1 this afternoon, Chicago police say a 56-year-old man was stabbed in the chest with a sharp object.
Ow.
That employee rushed to the University of Chicago Medical Center. He's listed in fair condition. Monday, folks like Howard getting updates from inside the hospital.
Wait. They took him to a different hospital. He got stabbed at this hospital, and they took him to the hospital across the street.
Loved ones. We ran into him as he waited for a registered nurse inside.
It don't make sense. I mean, it's in a hospital. That's kind of bad, man. It really is.
The response...
No, I think he's at the ghetto hospital.
Issuing a lockdown that lasted hours as police
investigated. He has the good insurance. He's a doctor.
Security at Provident Hospital moved quickly after the incident and arrested the person responsible. What we don't know this evening is what charges they may be facing. Tonight, the hospital issuing a statement saying in part, quote, violence against healthcare workers is on the rise and is unacceptable. No one should have to fear for their
Yeah, the story said employee, but it was a doctor.
This issue transcends physical harm. It impacts the emotional and psychological well-being of our entire team and ultimately affects the quality of care we are able to provide. JC Navarrete, NBC 5 News.
Thank you, JC.
I don't know if I saw it somewhere else or if it was in the description or some shit. I think this one happened in Texas. A mom says that a teacher who has been charged for faking a police report actually assaulted her son years ago.
You can tell that it's fingerprints.
This Chesterfield mom, who says she does not want to be identified in order to protect her child, points to injuries.
She grabbed both of his arms with both of her hands.
Investigators say her son suffered at the hands of a special needs teacher.
He
oh my God!
Was not coming off the playground equipment. She pulled him off, grabbed him with both of her hands on both of his arms, and yanked him off the playground. And that's how the marks got there.
She needs to be yanked.
Her here?
Okay. CBS 6 has exclusively obtained this police body-worn camera showing surveillance footage of the October 20th, 2021 incident outside the then 3-year-old's elementary school.
This is him.
Okay.
So she tells him to line up, and then he doesn't line up.
She is Alicia Farrell.
And what you're being charged with is just simple assault.
A January 2022 trial determined there was sufficient evidence of guilt, but the charge was dismissed with community service. The Chesterfield Commonwealth's Attorney's Office said while Farrell did use an unreasonable amount of force, all parties agreed she did not intentionally hurt the child.
The defense attorney had said in court that she would lose her teaching license and have to do some community service. We accepted the terms and conditions based on the fact that she was going to lose her license. Then I find out by watching the news that she's now teaching in Prince George County with the same group of children.
Treat her like a cop.
Tonight, that teacher is charged with making a false police report. 3 years later, police say that same teacher faces another criminal charge.
You're not on scene when we talked to that trailer park when she was tied up. The patient's going to be deaf and covered in blood.
After Prince George investigators say she covered herself in Halloween blood and falsely claimed she'd been kidnapped and sexually assaulted.
What?
So obviously what caused her to be so rough with my son. I don't know what caused her to make up all these horrible lies about herself. I don't know, but I know she needs help. I know she does not need to be teaching with children. Those are the two things that I can say for a fact that needs to be done.
Under the Freedom of Information Act, CBS 6 requested communications from the Virginia Department of Education, which confirms that the family contacted the Office of Professional Practices on November 13th, at which time they started investigating Farrell's 2021 assault case. The Virginia Department of Education declined our request for an on-camera interview, but did confirm for us that Chesterfield County Public Schools did not notify them of Farrell's 2021 arrest. Now, VDOE says that districts are not obligated to do so until there is a conviction, but said that most divisions do.
The way I look at it is Chesterfield County Public Schools should have notified the Virginia Department of Education that this teacher had an assault and battery charge against a young child. There was evidence, she admitted to it, there was court, there was findings, and at that point the Virginia Department of Education should have done what they need to do to remove her license.
We reached out to Farrell's former defense attorney who confirmed saying her client would lose her teaching license in her 2022 trial, but she explained she meant only if she was convicted. CBS 6 confirmed that no deal was ever made concerning Farrell's license during.
What?
We reached out to CCPS and have not heard back. The VDOE says Farrell's license is on hold. Meanwhile,
on hold?
She was not terminated from PGCPS. Rather, she was allowed to quit. She's due back in court on the 24th. In the studio, Laura French, CBS 6 News.
No Flash, I would say what that is, and I don't know who to take that to at this moment in time. I've tried to tell right wingers about this. So, like, they'll pay for ad and shit, and I'll troll them, and they'll block me. And Facebook will still show me their ads, even though I can't interact with their ads anymore. So Facebook just wasting their money. So I guarantee you they're still showing me the ad and charging them for it. And I've tried to like get right wingers like, hey, you know, Facebook's fucking you over here. And they don't really care. But I think Facebook is being very, you know, it's telling you that it's targeting its ads and shit. It's not. It's showing them to whoever it can show them to, that it can count as an ad, count as a view, count as a watch, whatever. Yeah, like how Avalon was like, well, when my friend's mom, or when my mom's friend went crazy, they had the courtesy to use real blood to cut themselves. I don't know how, if you're going to fake something, why would you use fake blood? That's gonna get found out. The cops aren't. I mean, the cops are dumb, but they're not that dumb. Exactly, Holiday. I don't think Facebook makes money. If they're making money, it's all by selling data. It's by selling your habits to these firms we've never ever heard of. The McLaughlin Insight Group or something. And they do fucking marketing research. We got new video of the plane flipping over as it was landing yesterday.
New video now shows the moments that Delta Airlines jet flipped over and caught fire yesterday while trying to land in Toronto.
Well, that's how it happened.
When you look at that happening, that no one on board that aircraft was killed. Just amazing. Right now, the NTSB is helping to investigate what caused that fiery crash at Toronto Pearson International. Airport officials say that wintry weather was.
Can we see it again?
Flipped over and caught fire yesterday while trying to land in Toronto. It's unbelievable when you look at that happening, that no one on board that aircraft was killed. Just amazing. Right now, the NTSB is helping to investigate what caused that fiery crash at Toronto Pearson International. Airport officials say that wintry weather was rougher than usual in the days leading up to that accident. I mean, you can see it right there on the runway. It looks really, really slick. Close to 80 passengers were trapped upside down there, and at least 18 people had to be taken to the hospital.
We hit the runway really hard and like extremely hard, and we kind of popped up and it felt like we were leaning to the left, and then we were going sideways. I'm not even sure how many times we like tumbled, but we ended upside down. I was hanging there in my seatbelt upside down.
Wow. 2 runways are still closed and will be for the next several days as investigators examine the wreckage. Really the power of seatbelts, though.
I'm telling you.
You know?
Did he say the power of... I'm sorry. This is something that has been happening to me since I was like a teenager. I sneeze, and I will sneeze 10, 15, 20 times in a row. I don't like it. It's not fun, but it's a thing that happens, and I don't think I'm done with it. I gotta read the next story, so hold on. I can't just play a video. Watch the plane flip again.
New video now shows the moments that Delta Airlines jet flipped over and caught fire yesterday while trying to land in Toronto. It's unbelievable when you look at that happening, that no one on board that aircraft was killed. Just amazing. Right now, the NTSB is helping to investigate what caused that fiery crash at Toronto Pearson International. Airport officials say that wintry weather was rougher than usual in the days leading up to that accident. I mean, you can see it right there on the runway. Looks really, really slick. Close to 80 passengers were trapped upside down there, and at least 18 people had to be taken to the hospital.
We hit the runway really hard and like extremely hard, and we kind of popped up and it felt like we were leaning to the left, and then we were going sideways. I'm not even sure how many times we like tumbled, but we ended upside down. I was hanging there in my seatbelt upside down.
Wow. Two runways.
How's it hanging? Well, a little to the left.
For the next several days as investigators examine the wreckage. Really the power of seatbelts, though.
I'm telling
you. What the fuck? It was the seatbelts and not the damn fine piloting? God. Fuck. All right, guys, are you ready for some good news? Well, it's a good news, bad news kind of deal. You want the good news or the bad news first? Globus, good evening. Welcome in, my friend. Somebody give Globus a shout out. Do you want the good news or the bad news first? Let's do the bad news. Bad news first, then we get the good news. Well, the bad news is Dennis Prager is still alive. The good news is he's paralyzed. Dennis Prager, PragerU says injured founder, conservative pundit Dennis Prager will return soon.
The Supreme Court that lower courts
are... Oh, she ain't talking about Prager. Josephus, good evening. Conservative talk show host Dennis Prager is recovering from a nasty fall in November and hopes to be back on the air soon despite remaining paralyzed from the shoulders down. PragerU CEO Marissa Stritt told the Washington Times on Tuesday that the 76-year-old pundit envisions himself speaking publicly again for the first time since being hospitalized in Los Angeles with a serious back injury 1 week after Election Day. Dennis remains the wise fighter we know who loves life and adores his country, Miss Stritt said. Soon we will be fortunate to have the opportunity to learn from him again. On Monday, she released a video update with Mr. Prager's son, David. Here we go.
Hello, PragerU fam. I am here with David Prager, Dennis's oldest son. And some of you may have heard that Dennis had a very serious injury. It happened on November 12th. And we wanted to just take a moment to remind you what happened, share some of the details with you, and also share with you some pretty optimistic news that we have today. And so looking forward to having you tune into this. Just briefly.
He paralyzed, but he says he'll be back.
For the first time, Dennis fell down at his house on November 12th, and he hit his head. Prior to the fall, Dennis has had 2 major surgeries on his back. He had a fusion surgery, which really gave his back a pretty stiff situation. And so when he fell down,
I got a stiff situation for you.
And while nothing actually happened to his brain, his spinal cord was injured. It was not severed, but it was injured. And it was injured at the top of his spinal cord at the area of C3 and C4 that also controls his diaphragm. And so it was a pretty scary situation. I remember talking to David that same day, not really knowing what's going to happen. And thankfully, we first knew that nothing happened to his brain. And so
there's a picture of her with Trump up in the top left-hand corner.
But he was immediately brought into ICU, and he was under care for several weeks in the hospital, as the goal was to get him to regain function of his breathing. And we've seen some promising incremental improvement. He cannot move.
I will smoke one for Dennis Prager.
And he's still working on physical therapy. And we hope that with the reduction of the inflammation, with time passing, as well as with all the technology that some of the doctors are bringing to the family, we'll continue to see some improvement. And so that is basically what has happened a few weeks ago. And David is here to share Dennis's condition currently and how he's doing.
So he is a lot of good movement. If you're hearing this for the first time, obviously all you hear is bad news. But we've had the ability of having perspective, number one, of the fact that, like you said, he's had no brain injury. The people that have visited him, and
I think he had a brain injury years and years ago. To be honest with you,
to get back to all of us and to talk to the world again. He is talking a lot to people in the rehab facility that he's at right now. He's all there. He's 100% there. When you hear him on the radio, you'll say,
you guys probably hate me for playing this, so
God will
let me cut him off and show you Smokey instead. He's a DEIA hire. You got it right, Michael. Damn right, that's a cat. When we were leaving earlier today, the little feisty cat, she was outside. I had to pop out and had to feed her. I know they're real, son. I sleep with them every night. You know who's not real? The Undertaker. The Undertaker is not real. You grew up thinking The Undertaker was real. I'm sorry. The dead man that you think was all about the occult is actually a Christian and very evangelical. A dude that came out to American Badass on a biker, on a motorcycle with a biker gimmick, acted like he was so fucking hard. Was a little pussy that whined all the goddamn time. So I'm pretty sure he is going to be whining here. He was on Good Morning America to talk about WWE LFG. I don't even know what that is. Let's fucking go.
Now with a living legend right here in the world of professional wrestling, The Undertaker. He's won multiple world titles as a WWE Hall of Famer. He now stars in a new competition series called WWE LFG. That's Legends and Future Greats. All about.
I had no idea about this.
WWE superstar, The Undertaker.
How are you, sir?
Welcome to GMA.
Hey, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You've got this incredible journey. We were talking during the commercial break about how you got started. 30 years in this business. You began sleeping in your car, and then you were on this world stage with millions of adoring fans. Right. Could you ever have imagined this?
There was some long nights in that Monte Carlo where I didn't see the upside. I can tell you that.
During the break, that you didn't think that you would end up here. You planned to go play basketball overseas, and you walked away from a scholarship, but ended up wrestling. And look at the dream you followed and what you've made of it.
Yeah, everything happens for a reason, right? Those were, leaving the scholarship meant leaving all the money and everything I had, so that's how I end up in my car.
Wow!
Because everyone told me what a mistake I was making. Right?
Yeah.
It was like, you're crazy.
But you believed in yourself.
I did. I believed in myself, and I knew that there was something there. and I didn't know how long it was going to take or what it was going to take, but I knew that I was committed to the task.
You had that faith, and so now you're most well known for your dead man persona that comes from The Undertaker. Your pro wrestling career spans 30 years, but you said you're not getting back in the ring. That Father Time is undefeated.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the one guy that no one beats.
But what do you miss?
Oh my gosh! I mean, when you're standing in a stadium full of 100,000 people and they're screaming your name, it's kind of an adrenaline that it's hard to replace.
You stayed too long.
I missed
you stayed like 5 or 6 years too long.
Myself and the guys that I share the ring with, some of them you don't care for, some of them you do. But just the kind of, like, my era was that kind of band of gypsies type, you know.
Oh, yeah, that's an acceptable term.
Together, when we were with each other more than we were our own families.
Yeah.
And the camaraderie and the
most coworkers are
made through this business is just something that'll be with me for the rest of my life. And you know, now that I'm home, you don't see those guys, and everybody's moved on now too. Yeah. So, but man, I wouldn't trade.
It was like you, The Rock, and Stone Cold Steve Austin and stuff, right?
Yeah.
In fact, cool.
Rock and I, we kind of.
Her brothers watched it
last year at WrestleMania, and got to give him a little bit of payback for some stuff back in the day. Yeah, it's amazing when you look at professional wrestlers, sports entertainers, and see what guys like The Rock have done. It's amazing, and it just shows the reach that wrestling has.
Just sitting here with you, I can tell, mentoring is your thing. And this is what this series is all about, right?
Yeah.
Mentoring rising stars.
Yeah, it is. It is a look. LFG, Legends and Future Greats, right? It is a look into the development and the way that we develop the next generation of superstars now, and it can be very frustrating at times because I've got wrestling boots older than most of these kids.
Bubba Ray Dudley.
I mean, it really is. So trying to identify with them and
little punk ass kids
on a level that they're used to sometimes can be challenging. And then there's just times where
You're saying identifying with them. You were just talking about when you were sleeping in your Monte Carlo, motherfucker. That's when you could identify with them. You're a rich fucking bastard. That's why you can't identify with them anymore. Fucking come on.
have to revert back to that old school harsh mentality and really drive it home. But we get totally, all these coaches are totally invested in these kids and hope only the best for them.
Well, congratulations. Thank you again for being here. And we should tell you that WWE Superstar Sunday begins tomorrow at 8 p.m. Eastern and Pacific on A&E.
What Asian chick are you talking about?
These kids, school times can be, so trying to identify with wrestling boots, and it is
no idea. I mean, guilty as charged. I've seen The Undertaker. I've seen him wrestle. I know, I think that's one of the contestants in the show. I've bought his merchandise. I bought his t-shirts. I bought his hat. Okay, like, I got no problem with The Undertaker being rich. I've got problems with people that are rich enough to where they can interview. Yeah, I'm sure I had action figures. I was a huge wrestling fan my entire life. Wasn't really a WWF fan, though. I was a WCW fan. Is anybody in the chat, are you guys Arrested Development fans? Anybody in the chat watch Arrested Development? There's the iconic episode where Buster goes to join the army. His mom's name Lucille. His girlfriend's name Lucille. He ends up jumping into the ocean. and a loose seal bites his hand off. Loose seal. A Connecticut city is baffled by a loose seal.
It's one of the most mysterious.
That's scary.
Since we saw Seal during the Super Bowl playing a seal. A call was placed to police after this little guy was found on a snowy city street in New Haven, Connecticut.
I'm sure they thought it was a joke, but it was not. It was a seal in the street.
In a city renowned for its pizza.
We don't know why it was here. I assumed it was for the clam pizza.
The gray seal, believed to be barely 6 weeks old, has been on the move. Last week, he was spotted in a town 8 miles away.
He's adorable.
Haven, police kept the street blocked off until the arrival of an animal rescue team from the nearby Mystic Aquarium.
He was probably just lost and figured that these are my instincts, but unfortunately with the area being so developed, it's not actually a safe place for him.
This little guy's adventure comes after the recent discovery of other seals by law enforcement. In California's Bay Area, Tomo, as she was named, was spotted herself on a concrete wall.
Oh, I love Spicy Butt.
4 miles from the water. And just before Valentine's,
even the animal gets the chud.
Seal was found wandering in traffic near Candlestick Point. Officers guided it back into San Francisco Bay. Back in Connecticut, the newest wayward sea pup is now at the aquarium.
Oh, now come on.
Back to health,
come on, my
with
lord.
the goal of returning him back to the wild.
We want him to be able to hunt on his own and catch what he needs in order to support himself.
Look at that face!
Teaching the young pup how to hunt and eat on his own will offer him the best chance of survival once he's released back into the wild.
I guess for that seal, it was long time no.
It's one of the most mysterious.
Why did they have to do that?
A seal during the Super Bowl playing a seal. A call was placed to police after this little guy was found.
Exactly, Spicy Butt.
In New Haven, Connecticut.
I'm sure.
Sad that capitalism is driving them to extinction.
In a city renowned for its pizza.
My lord, why do you have a beef with seals?
I assumed it was for the clam pizza.
The gray seal, believed to be barely 6 weeks old, has been on the move. Last
Did the seal bite off your hand?
In a town 8 miles away. In New Haven,
a loose
police
seal?
kept the street blocked off until the arrival of an animal rescue team from the nearby Mystic.
Oh, the salmon. Oh, yeah, I read that. I'm sorry. I forgot about it that fast.
But unfortunately, with the area being so developed.
Oh, thank you, Spicy. I love animals.
This little guy's adventure comes after the recent discovery of other seals by law enforcement. In California's Bay Area, Tomo, as she was named, was spotted sunning herself on a concrete wall in front of a church some 4 miles
sunning
from
herself.
The water. And
That's
just
beautiful.
before Valentine's Day, another little lost seal was found wandering in traffic near Candlestick Point. Officers guided it back into San Francisco Bay. Back in Connecticut, the newest wayward sea pup is now at the
More of a Beaver fan. I see what you did there.
of returning him back to the wild.
We want him to be able to hunt on his own and catch what he needs in order to support himself.
Experts say teaching the young pup how to hunt and eat on his own will offer him the best chance of survival once he's released back into the wild. It's one of the most mysterious sights since we saw Seal during the Super Bowl playing a seal. A call was placed to police after this little guy was found on a snowy city street in New Haven, Connecticut.
I'm sure they thought it was a joke, but it was not. It was a seal in the street.
In a city renowned for its pizza.
We don't know why it was here. I assumed it was
still in the
The
street.
gray seal, believed to be
Not the
barely
singer,
6
though.
weeks old, has been on the move. Last week, he was spotted in a town 8 miles away. In New Haven, police kept the street blocked off until the arrival of an animal rescue team from the nearby Mystic Aquarium.
If you were watching on Twitch,
And figured that these are.
you were heading over to Riverboat Jack.
With the area being so developed, it's not actually a safe place for him.
Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack.
Law enforcement in California's Bay Area
I'm going to send you on over to Riverboat Jack.
was spotted sunning